All right, guys, we're gonna do this one quick because it's Monday night, and I know come 9 o'clock there's a rambling I have to watch for sure, and just watching out for updates or changes to situations of the hashtag May the Power of the Force stuff, right? So I want to make sure I'm max vigilance, and when I do that, and why am I opening like that? Because guys, we're still talking about battle procedure here, and we're seeing how sometimes a military planning process can be applied to our YouTube content, as in G.I. Joe conversions or figure photography or Transformers dioramas, Ninja Turtle shelving, rearranging, comic collecting, lore, fan fiction, lore writing. All of this stuff is something that benefits from maybe bringing over a little bit of organizational process from the military and showing it to the guys what it looks like, because not only could it on one hand help you get more organized if you employed the standards and learned them, and by the standards I mean the 16 steps of battle procedure that we're talking about, or if you are just looking for inspiration ideas on what's it look like when my figures that I want to photograph go from they're sleeping in their beds, they wake up, they find a bit of mission, they go on the mission, everything goes good, everything goes bad, and they get home and then they talk about it. All those phases, what are the actual shots in there? It can't all just be about the battle, can it? Not just, dude, we're gonna go here. Right? So on the last one, I covered off the first 3 steps of battle procedure. And again, I'm going to go over just quickly the 16 steps, and I won't get into them now the way I did in the first video. I am trying to compress these shorter. So I'll just read you out those 16 steps, crusty old crow, adding that tactical perspective. We'll then recap the ones we watched on the last video really quickly and pick up where we left off. So the 16 steps of battle procedure that I'm talking about is receiving a warning order, right? Getting a warning off that something's coming, getting a warning off that you might get a task, getting a warning off that a new line is coming out that's ready to be photographed, or, hey man, Ollie's got a sail in this body, man. Can you picture the conversion? Right, that stuff. Conduct a quick mapping study, quick time estimate I talked about, and then receiving the orders when you find out about what your actual project is and what your role is going to be as a part of that project. Perhaps you are handed a job to do as a photographer, and they outline the details of what they want for their shoots. It's Hasbro saying, shoot this new Spider-Man. Make sure you get those skyscrapers in those eyes, right? Things like that. Okay, so after that, it goes conduct mission analysis, where you break everything down and make sure you understand it all. Issue your initial warning order, where you get your rest of your team doing concurrent activity to help speed things along. Perhaps if it's relevant to you, the projects you're doing, you would warn off stakeholders if they were buying, say, commissioning you to build something. You would tell them, hey man, okay, this is where I'm at. I just got the details of what you wanted, and I expect this kind of timeline so far, but I will give you that, just an estimate right now, and I will give you more details to follow by this date. Like, you just give them this thing that you've launched on it, and this is what we need to get ready for. For us in the military, it's about getting our team ready, right? So we have guys like 2 ICs, second in commands, who will lead our section while we're still doing the rest of our battle procedure or attending orders and things like that. But as a conversion artist, a lot of us are independent, working on ourselves. So what counts as a 2 IC is just really, it's your own, notepad reminder, or remembering that you have viewers that are waiting to hear from you. It's maybe if you're working with other content creators, asking a few things out of them to just be like, all right, what do I think should be a reasonable expectation for that? Because then maybe they can help you, assist you, and take it from, warning off your viewers to telling your viewers something much more realistic in the timeline, things like that. It's a bad example, but these bleed into other aspects, and it's more just the controlled process of doing these steps in order. Even if you don't think it needs to be done, address that step and be absolutely sure, then move on to the next step, all right? So that warning order we cover in this one, and we're also going to cover the detailed time estimate, which is a very, 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 very thorough guideline for you to get through. And I'll show you just how thorough the Army makes it, but it's up to you how you make it. After that, the next ones after this will include conduct detailed map study and prep an outline plan. It'll prep a recce plan, then conduct a reconnaissance, then complete the estimate,
which is you finishing, you're saying, I've got all the factors, now I've got to try and figure out all the stuff that hasn't been handed to me in information, all my implied and deduced things, right? And then you're going to issue a supplemental warning order. Has anything changed? At all times, you should be asking yourself, has the situation changed? Get used to that as a content creator. Get used to that as a conversion guy, a collector, a photographer. Get used to that, right? You should always ask that anyways, but especially in this market, has the situation changed? Right? Are you collecting a line that is going to be abusing your patronage later? Has that company changed? Have they become really bad with their distribution? Have they ceased communicating with their people that they owe shipments to? Should I be promoting this line with photography or making open mockeries of it? Are the jokes there? For conversions, are these pieces becoming more available? Is there a demand suddenly for this vehicle or this character because the comics are showing something, right? That's where that all becomes relevant. So the supplemental warning orders, you really only need to do it once before you execute that last task. But then you're going to prep and issue your orders. So you're going to come up with your battle plan on how you're going to approach that task. If it's a conversion, I've decided through my prep and issue that first we are going to focus primarily on the axles and the chassis, while the body is still not in our possession, but we have seats and interior components to work on, and I have an RC engine that I am pulling from over here, and in phase 2 I will bring all those things back together for the duration of time, and in phase 3, and you form a plan around it. You start to see it unfold as you've done all your things, including the estimate. You're going to issue those orders to whoever you need to, including your stakeholders. If you're just letting them know about your channel, you're going to commit to a date, time, right? When you're going to reveal this, what time. You're going to have everything ready. This is just finally time to talk about it, right? And then you're going to, after that, coordinate activities, requirements of subordinates. Is really just making sure that, making sure that if you said there's going to be a prize at the end of this video where I present this item, you have full idea what the prize is. It's on hand if you have to pull it up, and you've got your adapt plan in case 2 guys get the right answer. You've got your secondary backup prize maybe, and you've got a stopwatch because you said you wanted your video to be exactly 30 minutes, right? So all that stuff there. Supervising deployment, stepping out the gate, making sure that if it was photography, supervising deployment would be more making sure that when you go out to do your photography thing, you've got the right packing materials for your things, and you've got maybe a flashlight for piece drops or a magnet if it's metallic, that you've got everything in the way that you want it. And that once you got to the location, that would include you setting up the figures, the backdrops, and making sure lighting is the way it is, that there's no ambient noise that's going to interfere if it's a video, like all that stuff is supervising deployment right up to the actual mission, and then you execute the mission, whatever it is. This is the point where I actually put my hands on the conversion and ching chong 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 chong, now it's a truck, right? Or this is the point where the light is optimal, I'm ready to fire. Okay, your firecracker goes off, figures behind firecracker, clickety 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 clickety. There we have J. Jonah Jameson coming under fire from the Punisher. Who knows? Whatever, right? Lastly, after the mission's done and all those other factors, you'll do what's called an after-action review in AAR. So there, we've recapped those. So moving right along, guys, last one I talked about the quick map, quick time. I talked about receiving the orders, but before all of that, I talked about the warning order and acted it out. Now, what I didn't talk about at the orders is just maybe a little bit of coming prepared, right? Like, you're going to bring all your fighting and dying gear. You're going to bring your maps and your compass and your GPS and everything you would need to go on that op. If suddenly the commander said, and go, and you have to go now, right? Like, when we train for this, when we train leaders to take orders and do stuff like that, they have to haul pretty much every piece of kit they're going to be using throughout the day around with them, right? I had to do it. Guys always have to do it. Everyone under that had to do it, because the entire concept is saying that this is such a flexible thing once it's become known and inherent to the soldier. Like, he's memorized how it all goes and knows what to expect for the next thing, right? Like, after this, I know he's going to say situation enemy now. Bam. All right, now comes mission. right? Yep, okay, good. We're gonna get into execution now, aren't we? Oh, execution, right? By that time, it's really important a soldier gets to there, because if the enemy were to, like, say, bombard you with artillery, and you were in the middle or hadn't even started your orders, you're gonna go and react to the enemy fire, and you might be mobile and having to get those radio orders, right? The whole thing over the radio, no map visible except the map in your hand. So it's really important you had all that stuff, but you're gonna want colored stablers to copy the trace. And one of the biggest things I always pushed on my guys, and if I find it, there is waterproof paper is fine, it's fancy, it's everything like that, right? But it was important for you to have a pad that would fit into a pocket or a pouch in your vest or on your bag. Not entire leaves of full scab legal paper like Johnny Cochran used to carry around during the OJ trials and things like that. I've had candidates argue with me that they do that, right? So that's our preparation. What's your preparation when you go to formulate your orders, right? It's all your Google research of that you want to incorporate into that design. So if I was building, say, a new version of my hovercraft starting all over again, right? And I said, well, one thing I'll want to do this time is make sure that I just bought a modular cabin, right? I would Google if modular cabins were around, and I would have a selection of them and prices on hand. So when I go to do all that, right, I have all the information and stuff that I need. I have the experience with the items I need. That's preparation for me. So I know how to use my paintbrush. I know what to expect of my paints. I know what to expect of my glues. The figures aren't going to be a big shock and discovery on the way as I take them apart, put them together. For Aaron, he did the Superman. He well knew RC car wiring, right? For a photographer, they don't jump into starting a YouTube channel about photography unless they've taken photography pretty much their whole life as a hobby or as an interest through high school and then into college and university, things like that. So a lot of that is just coming in prepared, you know, and applying that in and then writing it out. Actually writing out your process in an order that makes sense. So there's a format for it. I covered it last time. It was the SMESC acronym, but it was a step-by-step process. Does that apply to your projects? No. But it's just emphasizing this is the point where you want to write out your plan. Okay? Because a lot of people will just think it's good enough to keep that plan up here. And you know what the first thing we tell you in the Army is? No plan ever survives first contact. The instant something goes wrong, your plan's probably going to go for pot. You're going to have to adopt, and then what, right? If I start throwing variables at you because you said your plan's up here, all right, and I'll wait 5 minutes before you go to deploy, and I'll change parameters of that mission, right? Just as a student, just to say, you should have wrote it out so you could have worked it out. It would take less time because you would see exactly where I put those changes as opposed to trying to picture it all, right? There's a process. Stick to the process. Trust the process. The process freaking works. Every country in the world pretty much uses battle procedure, right? So today, like I said, I wanted to talk about the other steps in that. So when you receive the orders afterwards, you're going to be left with some time to cover the mission analysis, okay? So your mission analysis is exactly what it says. What is my mission? And you analyze what you know about it. So you're going to go over your superior commander's intent. We call it the one-up, two-up thing, right? So higher commander is your one-up, superior commander is your two-up, right? So with my superior commander's intent, right, if it's let's say I work for Hasbro and I'm Lenny, okay? And Chris Cox has put it down to the Joe department that I am to build a new Night Force Flint, let's say. I'm making this up as we go, right? And his intent is to release an unpredicted leadership 3-pack for Night Force next quarter, right? Let's say next planning quarter. Okay, that's the intent. Night Force 3-pack and leadership core. So it'd be Duke, him, let's say Beachhead. Okay, that's the project Lenny gets assigned in the order. So now when he analyzes it, he's like, okay, what's my superior commander's intent? So that's Chris Cox, CEO, wants to push the Night Force wave, wants to promote repaints of some of our other figures. whatever he said in the orders, right, is what he's doing. You know, push the Night Force 3-pack kind of idea, right? The higher commander's concept of ops is how they're going to go about pushing Chris's 3-pack. All right, guys, here's what I see. I see the Command Corps of Beachhead, Duke, and Flint, and I see Night Force colors, and you know, but we're going to cross promote this. Also with Skybound during all of this, there'll be some concurrent activity going on over here in the comics. And of course, Transformers G.I. Joe Part 4 is doing extremely well right now. So we're going to want some reflection of that going on in there. And he's going to lay down how he sees Night Force getting promoted in the 3-pack. And, you know, like, I want this all on the packaging. So he's talking to everybody who has a concept in the figure. Right? You're going to design it based off that stuff. You're going to promote it with the packaging and everything based off that stuff. Anything else in the package has to go along with this theme. You're understanding what it is called your higher commander's concept of operations, right? It's right down to how he assigns the teams, right? Because he's going to give you his scheme of maneuver, his intent, his main effort, and his end state. My main effort is going to be the command cadre figures themselves. I don't care about the packaging, but the figures themselves. And my end state is, you know, sales are jacked and people want more of these. And of course, we pretend like we screwed up the order and we get the retros ready, right? Like that's, and then, you know, all of that stuff's coming out in there. And you've got to consider all of that when you're going into it going, all right, well, how am I going to tackle Flint? Because that's the one you were assigned, let's say. Out of the 3, Lenny, you, or me, or whoever we are, who are you? Get Flint, right? So then you're going to get your assigned tasks, right? Okay, you're doing Flint, and I want you to do the Night Force colors, all right? But I also want, one new weapon for Flint, one new soft goods accessory, and yeah, let's just get rid of the entire lower body remold that we're using for them, and we're going to sculpt a new one. Okay, these are the assigned tasks that I get. Okay, with those assigned tasks, and you get that really out of your mission statement and all that stuff of what you're going to do. But in those assigned tasks and that mission statement come the implied tasks, the stuff that doesn't get said. You know, you have to deduce it, read between the lines. You know, like what's going on. So implied tasks would be like, all right, I got to research what previous concepts were out there that were successful for Night Force camouflage when this package was done, say in 1999 or whenever it was, right? I want to revisit perhaps the modern hairstyles of this time. Is this haircut currently updated? Am I keeping with the current intent of a new look? Or am I, you know, like that? But more specifically with the legs, now that I have to remold brand new ones, are there any new concepts currently used by, say, military special forces that would work well in this line? Like you're starting to pull where you need to look to actually accomplish this task, right? Paint department. I've seen a neat new black paint that has a lot more depth. What's, maybe I have to investigate cost of that, right? So, you know, implied tasks as they're pulled in for there, right? For photographers, an implied task would be like, all right, do I need the shadow box or do I want natural? Like, okay, well, if I have the shadow box, I need a place to plug it. So I got to pull my car up closer to the site so I can get my adapter plug to plug into the assembly I have there, or I bring a generator, or I bring a charger. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of, what do I have to bring that nobody told me to bring? What do I have to think of that nobody told me to think of? Those are the implied stuff you'll consider and pull when you're pulling out a task. You're writing it down. You're just writing them down so you can revisit them later when you start working in how those tasks fit into your plan, right? The constraints and limitations, I've covered a few times, all right? A limitation is something that nothing can be done about it, right? The time the sun sets is a limitation you do not control. I don't care if you're Serpentor himself, the sun does not set behind you. It sets on its own time, right? And it's the same time because of other factors, right? But you don't control that. You can't request 4 more hours of daylight or 2 more hours of moonless night to complete a Night Force mission, right? You can't control a mountainscape in the way of where you want to land the plane, right? Those are the limitations, pardon me, the limits of everything. A constraint is really something that is there. It's it's in your way, or it makes things problematic or keeps things tight. But if you needed to justify adjusting it and making it less problematic for you, perhaps more time extended on task, a couple more bodies lent to your patrol, maybe if you were doing a conversion, you would decide, I'm going to bump this up three more passenger lengths on my Cobra mothership, make it a Cobra long mothership, right? I'm loosening my constraints to make it bigger. And the biggest example of a constraint I can think of off the top of my head that applies to, say, the Night Force painting that me, Lenny, and you, Lenny, and that guy, Lenny, are going to do with this is that Night Force had a very specific paint thing that the consumers are all waiting for from the 80s, and you've got to do a slight modernization for it, and you've got to make it look like that. So a constraint is the image of the character. You have to be within. Now you can ask to say, no, I really, that Python patrol friggin' cross-hatching on the trooper, can we get rid of the Argyle? And they can say, well, we could get rid of that Argyle. We could just go right to the Grey Trooper. But no, we really wanted that. We know you don't like it, but you're doing it. All right, you've asked to have a constraint adjusted where it wasn't. Maybe for him on Night Force, I'm saying, hey, listen, he's had that shotgun and this rig for too long on 2 figures already. Can we try a different vest with him? Yeah, okay. That's a constraint we can do something about. Maybe we allow that and we fix the budget around to fix it around, right? So that would be a constraint and limitation. Has the situation changed? And as I said before, you're constantly waiting to see if the situation changed, right? For a photographer, it's as simple as, hang on a second, I was about to do this big photo shoot on, say, Daredevil and Wolverine, blowing through a Cobra line. And now I just found out that Daredevil and Wolverine actually got delayed in theaters by a full 6 months. This is just going to antagonize thing. Maybe I don't want to do this shoot right away, right? For conversion, same thing, right? I just finished building this brand new Cobra. I built a Cobra Devilfish, yeah, and I'm almost ready. And once I put these engines on, I'll never ever be able to use them on any other project because of how they sit. Has the situation changed? Yeah, there's a Devilfish. Fuck. All right, I can save these engines. Good. They're, like you're doing that to spare yourself the humility of not being current and planning while everybody else knows what's going on. Planning an obsolete plan, right? You'll see clarity if it's required. Then you're going to start writing your mission statement, what you, yourself, and your team are going to do. When you issue an actual initial warning order, which is the next step, we're on step 5 right now. It's you giving the same style that you got yours in. It's basically the probable task or mission that you guys are going to be doing, right? You're still in the planning stages, but if you have stakeholders or people like Loki Wartooth, who's printing 3D parts, I've already given him my warning order on the 350 prize for grievance and his Crimson Frank Castle prize. In that, hey man, I'm looking for vests, I'm looking for heads, I'm looking for weapons, I'm looking for about 2 or 3 of these, one of that, right? Can you show me some selection, things like that? That's me giving my warning order to Loki. What my probable task will be is, in order to successfully do this figure, blah blah blah. For all that other stuff, you guys can kind of see how, if you have stakeholders or staff or, project managers or people with you, it's the same premise, right? So the warning order is one of those things that we debate sometimes. It's really just, when we teach this stuff in the Army, we want you to put it at a certain step of battle procedure, same as that supplemental. But in real life, you go where it's life on life's terms, mission on the mission's terms, and if the two don't gel, you just swim to the top and issue a warning order really quick. Oh, shit's fucked up, right? You can give that to your 2IC at any point. The sooner you get concurrent activity going with all the parties that need to do on an informed enough basis where they're not going to maybe damage things by working too far in advance, but they're not going to be too far behind for their obligated time to catch up to affect your stuff, that's what you want. That's the benefits of a warning order. And you're going to include the critical timings that you know about just the same as him, plus an idea and this is the important part of the warning order, of when you are going to fully brief him on what the hell is going on. Because they have to understand, and that's the same as your viewers on your channel, if you're doing a conversion, or you know, your followers, if they're waiting for that big photo shoot on the characters of Luke Cage and Iron Fist, they're so pumped up about, or the new naked Motu figures, what? Right? You have to let them know that, hey, I'm on it. I'm just still in my planning phase, but this is, you know, this is how far we're going into it, and you can expect it between this time. Give them an idea, right? So that's the warning order, and then the detailed time estimate is a long process that actually takes a lot longer than probably what I wanted this video to be. I see that we're at 25 minutes. Guys, I know this one was more talking than play, right? We'll do more play. But again, I want to thank anybody who's actually following what's going on here with this video, because what it is, guys, is I remain convinced that I see a lot of complaints about people who are, the problems they're having with a lot of their collecting or their motivation is, a lot of it is organizational. And some of them are stumped as to maybe what to do after they've done the big 10 things they had in mind, and now it's like, what do I do with it now, right? And if you guys can comprehend and follow a 16-step procedure, and you have all 16 steps, and you start doing it as you approach all these projects, you start having to not look at it, and you, like I said on the first video, you start knowing where you can streamline it. And some of the more exciting ones for a photographer come into the conduct reconnaissance stage, where the guy's going to go get the information he needs in order to go back and finish making his plan and things like that, right? Coordinating instructions and things like that. That's where you would see a guy like Grunt with all his gear, you know, walking over and seeing Wild Bill asleep on the skid of his Dragonfly, giving him a kick in the boot and saying, hey man, we got to coordinate this, you know, what time are you on station for the strike? You know, he wants to know. It's that kind of storytelling that comes along with knowing where everybody is in the planning process to right through the battle to the end, right? So no, I'm not trying to take Joe very seriously at all. What I'm trying to do is make the Army less serious by showing how some of their stuff is really very beneficial when it's applied to everything else and commonplace. But I wanted to show you guys I'm working more on those subscriber signs. Woody Triple Deuce, I think I finally got yours, buddy. That's yours. That's for my boy Woody, right, who told me to make the sub Joe when I make my sub, which is I'm on warning order on sub. And then Legend Series, Tony Figs and Pop Blender got added to the top of the subscriber wall the other day. Actually, just this morning, I think I glued that on. I am trying to build that up for part of the 500 contest whenever I get to that. And, you know, just a nice thing to give away. I think it's meaningful enough. But thanks very much, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Go watch Punk's Monday Night Ramblings. That's where I'm off to. While I carry on with my battle procedure for my Star Wars stuff, for hashtag May the Power of the Force. Don't forget, 31 content creators, all of us talking about the Power of the Force toy figure line, just having a great time to celebrate, you know, May the 4th. And of course, your old crow gets May the 6th, right? 6th, right? And of course, it has to be right before Punk, right? Now, Punk may not look like a very big man, I'm going to tell you that. We all joke about it. He jokes about it. He's got a good soul, good heart about it. And speaking of soul, just because he's not a very big man, don't mean that boot didn't feel like a size 14 when I found out I was going on right before his Monday Night Ramblings on the 6th. So speaking of which, I'm going to go watch these ones because I might not watch those ones later. All right, guys. Peace out. I love you very much. Bye.